What's happening, everybody? And thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Crash Bang Boom Drumming Podcast. Today's guest is Dudley Tait from the super killer Scottish band DUNE, not to be confused with Divine, which I thought it was. And you'll also notice that I forgot that Scotland is a state under the larger umbrella of the UK, hence my confusion at the top of the episode and thinking that they were a band from Edinburgh, UK, and that maybe Dudley was even a Scottish dude, having heard his accent, now living in the UK. In any case, he straightened it out and we had no shortage of stories and laughs afterwards. So it was all good. And it was definitely cool talking to him about the concepts behind their records, and in particular, the new killer record, Etemen Ænka. And if you haven't heard it, it is a must listen for any psych, stoner, epic, sci-fi buffs out there. You know who you are. Shout out to my perpetual sponsor, New Orleans Record Press. If you're looking to release some vinyl, hit them up at NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Check out all of the electroplating, mastering, design, packaging, vinyl coloring options, and they got a real-time quote generator to add it all up and keep tabs and all that. They also print 12 and 7-inch records in 150 and 180 gram variants, and they do small runs of 100 and larger runs up into the thousands. So hit them up, and that's NewOrleansRecordPress.com. Crash Bang Boom Podcast can be found on iTunes, Podcast, Spotify, Stitcher, Luminary, Google Play, Podbean, and Amazon Music Podcasts, as well as many other platforms as well. Feel free to check out any of the previous 200 plus episodes. Give me a like, a subscription, and or a positive review. The support is appreciated. So without further ado, here we go. Dudley Tait. I love to hear a good Scottish accent. DUNE, Etemen Ænka, Asheran, and more. Crash, bang, boom.
Crowds go mad with joy.
Yeah! All right, I'm here with the drummer Dudley Tait of England's own DUNE, not to be confused with Divine, which is what I clearly thought it was. I'm assuming I'm not alone with that.
Yo.
How you doing, man? Thanks for hanging. I'm glad to be catching up with you. You're about, 7 hours ahead of me, so I got nothing but hot daytime light going on, and it's dark where you are.
You're going to take some flack since we're Scottish, very, very much so Scottish.
Oh, you're all Scottish. I thought that you're listed as a UK band.
We're definitely Scotland's own. DUNE.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say you don't sound so English to me. Slightly more Scottish, so that makes a hell of a lot more sense, man. Well, congrats on the new DUNE record. I'm assuming I'm going to pronounce this correctly. Etemen Ænka. Did I get it?
That's right. That's right.
I've really been digging the whole stoner psych progg vibes on it, and let's just talk a little bit about when it was released, and maybe tell me a little bit about your experience recording it, and how it maybe differed from the previous one, because I think to my ear it sounds like an uptick in production. The whole record sounds really, really good. So again, congrats on that.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about this new record, when it came out, and the process of recording it, man.
Came out in March. We were initially obviously planning to bring it out a bit earlier, but obviously things got in the way.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and keep that word out of my mouth, to be totally honest.
Yeah.
Things just didn't align, It wasn't working the way we were trying to get a lot of touring around this album. We were wanting to really, really push the touring side of it once we released the album. Obviously, we're signing with Metal Blade. We knew that we had the backing there to go for a nice big tour with this album,
Yeah.
And, that was something that was missing a bit from the Asheran release when we brought out the previous album. That was Asheran. The recording side of it was very fun. We signed this album to Metal Blade, so we had a little bit more time and money to really have some fun with the recording.
Mm-hmm.
That was, for me, a massive bonus. It was great to be able to experiment, take some time on the drums to really work some different sounds, get the kit really the way I wanted it to be, and have time to, just be flexible. I like that. And obviously the guys that were doing the guitars and stuff, same story. They had lots of time. They had lots of breathing room for us to work out things. We never came into the album, and we never do go into the studio with everything completely ready.
Mm-hmm.
Things are usually mostly there, and then we kind of let the studio magic kind of add the final touches to the record, you know. I feel like this time round we really got a chance to do that, and I think as you said, it really shows in the record, you know.
Yeah. How much time did you spend in the studio recording drums, and then in the same studio working with the same producer, engineers, etc.? Did y'all record all of the basic tracks?
Yeah, so the way we done this one was we started with the drum track. So we do this on both records at the same studio. We recorded both of these albums at Chamber Studio with Graham Young, one of our good friends. He's a great guy to work with. Just really fun and really knowledgeable, and it's great to kind of get, you know, different ideas and bounce that ideas off somebody like that. You know, somebody that's quite open to really see how far you're going to push them. You know,
Definitely.
I think every time we come in the studio, Graham's aware that we're gonna push a little bit further every time. You know.
Yeah.
The way I tend to do the drums, I'll take Victor, who's the guitarist vocal, one of the guitarist vocals in the band, Victor Vicart. Me and him, he'll run a guide guitar, and me and him will just get the drums down. I'll spend, at this time I spent a week, I think it was 6 days. 6 days in total, I think, maybe nearly 7 days. And basically no click tracks.
Wow.
We just flow with the sound, and we let the music move. We let everything do what it needs to do. Obviously, if things fluctuate way further than what we'd like, in other words, if I get too excited, we'll obviously take two, you know. But
yeah,
that's kind of the way we do it. We run our guide guitar that's isolated, and me and him just jam what we know, you know.
Yeah. It's funny you mentioned not doing click tracks, and if there was ever an advantage of using click tracks, especially when doing multiple takes, you know that you can splice easier between the takes, given that the BPMs and the tempos are going to be consistent between the two takes. So
for sure.
was it ideal for you in that sense to just try to nail it, an entire song in a single take, so you didn't have to splice between the two?
As much as possible, yeah. So you've heard the album, so you can see like there's parts of the tracks where they kind of release and they open into different sections. So right. Usually I'll use these sections to maybe regroup if something's went a bit, or even if something's went perfectly. Sometimes I'll just stop at that point and be like, right, cool, that was a take. So we've got maybe 4 minutes of the track nailed, and then it goes into a section where there's no drums and some just open guitar, and then we'll pick back up there. But most of the time we're trying to take the full take for what it is. But the songs are 9 minutes long, most of them, some of them. So yeah, I'd be lying if I said there was any full takes in there, to be honest. Like, I don't think there is.
Those are long fucking songs for sure, man. I was gonna, if you were like, yeah, man, nailed them all pretty much in one take, got in, got out. Yeah, I was like, holy shit.
First time. No.
Oh my God.
I'd love to say so, but not this time.
Reasonably so.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, right. Was it a pretty big room that you recorded the drums in?
So this room was quite a not tight room, but small, low ceiling, but a long room. I think we're going to try experimenting on the next album with some different spaces for the drums. I feel like we're never learned totally from the mistake we made on Asherim, which was this time round I used a better drum kit, and I think I can hear the difference myself. But I think a better drum kit in a better space would have just been the icing on the cake, I think. So still learning, still working things out. I think the next record we're definitely going to experiment with some bigger reverb friendly places, you know.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing with going, I've recorded in one small room, and when I'm playing in it, I love how it feels live to me, because you just get that immediate response of being in a small room as opposed to sort of
the rebound.
Yeah, the longer distance of it traveling to get back to you, just have an immediate sense of how everything sounds, and it sounds explosive. But the flip side of that, in my experience in recording in a smaller room, is that I had issues. I had to play my cymbals up higher and be conscious of not playing them as loud as I might normally, because maybe the room mics were a little bit closer, and because of that fast response, it was bleeding into the mics and everything. So it's always interesting, and you always got to evolve and try to figure this shit out. It's always changing. And there's so many fucking variables, you know.
Sure.
Room, mics, drums, not even the least of which is like the mentality that you have on that day, how you're feeling, if you're jacked, if you're tired. There's like so many variables. It might well be magic. I don't even know how the hell it happens.
We done the album in a whole month. And by the end of the month, I was just like, whoa, what's the oh, we're finished. Wow, that's been a month. We've been in this place for a month.
Wow.
Jesus.
That's amazing. Again, man, congrats on even having a month and the ability to do that. That's killer that was even an option for y'all.
We were going to put our own money in, you know, the way it is. If nobody was interested, we were going to just put our own money in and do it the way we wanted anyway. But luckily, Metal Blade had the faith, and we got the job done. Like I'm glad that they were a part of it, to be honest, because you know what it's like. A great label to be associated with, and to give them an album that we were all so proud of at the same time was just a great way to kind of launch the partnership between the two of us, you know?
Definitely, man. When was that month that y'all recorded the record? Did y'all have to sit on it a good while, given everything that went down with COVID?
Yeah, so I think it was August 2019.
Wow, so y'all been sitting on this thing for a minute.
Yeah, so we were planning on releasing it sometime in 2020, but touring just was not happening.
Yeah.
That was that. It was just 2020 was just a write-off, really. I feel like this is 2020 now.
Yeah. Was Scotland, was it pretty crazy over there with shutdowns and lockdowns and everything?
It wasn't. We done all the lockdowns and stuff. It wasn't crazy. I mean, England's usually was a lot worse because the population's a lot higher, but Scotland's a bit more rural. You know, there's less big cities. I stay in the capital city in Edinburgh. There's not very many people here compared to what you guys are used to, like over there. I mean, we've got the same amount of people in Scotland than there is in London.
Really?
Yeah. So we kind of got lumped into all the political kind of mumbo jumbo that came with England.
Yeah.
You know, so we were that pissed me off a wee bit, to be honest, but it's the way it is.
I bet.
We were locking down here like fucking everyone was dying, and we were sitting up here going, well, it's not too bad. We're pretty good up here, right?
Oh my God. Are live shows starting to come back in Scotland?
No, Scotland's not the very forefront of the music scene here in the UK. Like it's pretty dead up here when it comes to that. So England's starting to kind of they've had a couple of raves. They had like a dance kind of techno rave in Liverpool where they trialed having 15,000 people at an outdoor rave, and I think that went quite well.
Yeah.
When it comes to like their test results and whatever they done after, but other than that, everything's fucking ruined here. Like, yeah,
that's crazy.
We've got Brexit shit compiled on top of COVID shit, and it's just overall one big massive shit.
I don't mean to laugh at it. That's just a great analogy. It's a big pile of shit.
Yeah, it's a big fucking pile of shit. So we're lucky in the sense as a band, Victor's French, so we're gonna jumble things around and try and get ourselves touring under the guise of being a French band.
Yeah, there you go, man. That's wild. So as a Scottish band, I mean, is there a scene at all in Ireland, or is it mostly about going to the UK? I mean, there are a few bands that I think are really cool out of the UK. This band Sleep Tokens, I don't know if you've heard of them. They're super cool.
Right.
as well as two heavier bands, Frontierer and Sectioned. I think they share some members. So there's like this really heavy, intense, like badass shit coming out of there.
I've heard a little bit of Frontierer.
Yeah.
The key, this is my opinion only, but the key is to get yourself over to Europe, man. That's where it's all fucking happening. Like, that's where all the shit goes down. That's where the good gigs are. It's where the people are that really want to come and support bands and play, to come to see people. They come out Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, does not matter. They're there.
Yeah.
The UK, the people are lovely. I'm not saying anything bad about the people at all, but the actual scene as a whole, it's quite touch and go, really.
Yeah.
It's quite touch and go. Hard time trying to find venues that really put the effort in to have a decent gig. It's hard to find like tours that are, you can actually get a tour lined up where you can play 5-6 places in a row with promoters that'll actually give you somewhere to stay.
Totally.
As in part of the deal.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. If you knew some of these stories of like us trying to just play I'll not name any names, but a pretty substantial festival in London. We're coming from Scotland and we're getting offered enough money just to basically pay for the fuel to get down there.
Right.
Not food, not somewhere to stay. Right, well, so this is going to cost us how much? It's going to cost us. It's going to cost us £600-700 to come and play your festival. What's going on here?
Right.
But that does not happen in Europe for us.
Mm.
It might for other bands, but for us, it doesn't happen. We get offered a tour and we get offered shows where we're like, yeah, it sounds fun. We're going to make a little bit of money. They're going to make a little bit of money. We're not at a level where we're making tons of money. We're just going out to play cool shows and expecting to maybe have a little bit of food and somewhere to put our head down at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Simple. I mean, we're driving across the fucking sea.
Totally. Yeah.
No, so that's what I would say about the UK. We don't try and avoid it. If it works, it works. We go and play. We've got a tour coming up soon with a band, Bossk, in December. Hopefully.
With Basque from the Carolinas?
No, Bossk. They're called Bossk from England.
Oh, interesting.
Worth checking out.
Okay. They've
got an album called Audio Noir. So Audio Noir, Noir. Very cool album. Quite post metal, I'd say. If you're into that stuff, Cult of Luna kind of sounding.
Sure.
But very stonery and kind of intricate. I quite like it. It's good stuff.
Nice.
So we're going on tour with them in December. So because two bands that have kind of made a kind of name for themselves have came together, we're going to make a half decent tour. Yeah. But you know what it's like, man. When you're growing as a band, nobody knows who the fuck you are. You're trying to gig. The UK's, for me, is just not the place for that. It's not the place for that.
Right.
We've done it backwards, where we made our name more in Europe, and then it dripped back over to the UK. Yeah. I would say if any band for the UK anyway is struggling, that's the key for us. That was the key for us. We drove right through England, right over to Holland, and we went, fucking right, let's go Amsterdam, let's go. And we started from there.
What are some of the countries that you feel you've been especially well received? I feel like the Germans, despite being so notoriously stoic, it's something that I always kind of joke about them about. But as a culture and the way they support music, I've found that they have a pretty rabid and very dedicated response and support of live music.
Yeah, for sure. All types of music, as in, I mean, our album went into the German album charts. I think we were in the 40 region, wow. 42 or 43 in the album charts for the German album. I know, I was like, we were looking at it, and number one was like Lana Del Rey, and I'm like, looking down. I'm going, fucking June, Lana Del Rey. What the fuck is happening?
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that's Germany for you.
Yeah. On some of those early days, it's something that it's one of the recurring questions I like to ask, especially when, as an early band, some of the bullshit shows that you inevitably end up playing, just trying to get yourself out there. Are there any particular that y'all kind of joke about amongst yourselves to this day, as for being just especially ridiculous, or just a train wreck show, or just bullshit management, bullshit crowds, you name it?
Yeah. I would like to say that what we joke about most, right? Let's be totally honest here. I think that what we joke about the most, they bullshit shows are bullshit shows. You kind of know what sometimes you know what, you've got a feeling of what you're going to get yourself into when you drive to somewhere in the middle of nowhere and you pull up and you go, okay, this could be crazy. But, and it's a big but, and there's more stories here and we can get into them. But I tell you something, flying over to play Psycho Las Vegas and the setup there blew my mind. It was crazy. I was expecting the best kind of. I was expecting a very efficient setup. You know, it was not that at all. It was not that at all. High on Fire were sound checking. We were opening the main stage on the first day of the festival, the Friday. So High on Fire were the headliner for that night. So we had Matt Pike and we had the drummer for High on Fire. They were on stage. We're waiting at the side, ready to take our stuff on. We say hello to Matt. We say hello to the drummer. How we doing, guys? Cool. Everything good? Right. We're going to move in. They take the boys' drum kit off, and I say to the drum tech, I'm like, so one of these drum kits, is one of these mine? Yeah, let me check. Oh, I think it's that one. All right, pulls it over. I go, that looks good, man. So I obviously had to tune it and stuff, and I had a look. He never told me that he had put a new skin on the bass head for the bass drum. So I'm just tuning the drums. I'm not fitting new skins. I'm just giving them a little tune. First song when we're playing this gig, I've realised that the fucking bass drum skin is completely loose. He's put this on with his hands and just left it, not told me. I'm hitting like a wet paper bag, it sounded like, with a drum beat. And at the same time, I've got a massive monitor behind me and it's going and I'm looking over and the guy runs over, plugs it, pushes the plug in, comes on. I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? I had to stop in one of the sections of one of the songs and start tightening the fucking drum head on the drum.
Oh my god.
Oh man, just craziness. Our guitarist, they never told us that they were going to have pyrotechnics at the front of the show. So one of our guitarists got like a face full of this big steam cannon straight in front of him. Nearly knocked him out. He said he was like, what the fuck?
Wow.
Just craziness, man. It was crazy, but it was Las Vegas. I mean, what do you expect?
Right.
But that's our kind of we joke around that because we it was not what we expected. We were expecting like this is the show, you know, this is the prime time. You're in Vegas, you're in the Hard Rock Hotel. You're on Britney Spears that was her stage, you know. We're on Britney Spears' stage. What do you call it? A resident. She was a resident at the time.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And fucking here I'm having to, like a house drum kit, having to tighten up the drums when there's a drum tech. I was like, oh man, what's happening?
Oh damn.
So that was a bit crazy. We had a place in Germany that was a squat we played that turned out to be the coolest squat ever. Everyone pulled in. This was in maybe Frankfurt, maybe. The guy at the end of the gig, the place was full. We were not expecting it to be full because it was like an industrial estate where you went in and the guy had like this bar and a stage, and we were like, this is cool, but we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. Let's see what happens. Yeah. Next minute, people come all flying in. It was absolutely amazing gig. And at the end of the night, the German owner of the bar says, listen, guys, I'm going to lock the door. Your bedrooms are through the back there. We're like, cool. He was like, you can drink as much as you want. You can play music all night. And if you go through this door here, and he opened the door, and there was a fucking climbing wall.
Really?
So he had like big mats, big thick mats with climbing wall all the way around the room. And obviously we got drunk as fuck. We were playing music all night, and then we all started doing backflips and crazy shit on these mats. It turned into like a big wrestling WWE night on the mat. That was a fun night, that one as well, I must say.
Damn, dude, that's good stuff.
But yeah, we've got ups and downs, like for sure. Some funny nights.
When did DUNE like become a band?
I'd say about 2013, maybe 2014.
Okay.
I think around about that time. Me and Victor, I was looking for a metal band to play drums. At the time, I was playing a lot in my room. I used to have this really kick-ass Tait-DVNE Roland electric drum kit. I had it completely set up like my actual kit. I had rack tom, floor tom. I had the same cymbals, like set up. There were all the mesh heads.
Yeah.
It cost a lot of money, like, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I used to just play that in the house. I used to play loads of Blink-182, loads of. I was right into Lamb of God, Machine Head, Sepultura. So I was playing a lot of. I basically taught myself double kick by just playing they bands. You know, I remember. You listen to much Lamb of God?
Yeah, Chris Adler. Yeah, he's killer.
Yeah. So I remember putting on the song Omerta, and I says, right, today's the day you learn the double kick, right? Let's do this. So
Yeah.
My dad had got me the double kick pedal, and I was like, right, it's time to actually do it, because I was playing with just going.
Sure.
I was like, right, I can do it. And I went, nah, it's time to actually try and let's do something with this. So I started with Omerta.
Yeah.
That's the pattern for Omerta. So that was the kind of set off. And one day I was playing away on that kit, and then the phone went, and it was Victor. And he was quite fresh from England. He had moved from France to England, to Nottingham, and then he moved up to Scotland. But the accent between England and Scotland is so different.
Totally.
And he's got a French accent that's moved now to England, and now he's phoning a Scotsman. And he also had just interrupted me playing my drums through my headphones. So I'd play my drums with music coming through the headphones, and then all of a sudden the phone bring, and I'd go, fucking my ears, and it would cut the song off, and it would ring real loud in my ear. So I've answered the phone, and I'm raging. I'm like, oh. And it was Victor. He's like, hello, trying to, and we just couldn't understand each other. Because my accent and his accent, I said, listen, man, let's just meet and we'll chat. So we met up, and we just straight away started jamming some stuff that he had already been writing. And that was basically the starts of the first EP, Progenitor.
Yeah.
That was the start of that. The first song we ever jammed together was the very first song on that record. Then from there we just clicked, man. It was one of the ones where you just click.
Right.
I can't see myself in the future. I can't really imagine myself playing drums with anyone else.
That's awesome, man. And then so it started with the two of you, and then y'all are a 5-piece now, correct?
Started with me and Victor, and then we got Dan on board as the second guitarist. And we had a bassist, Simon, who's left, and then we've went through quite a few bassists. We're always trying to find a bassist that sticks there, but it's never been easy.
Yeah.
And And then we adopted. Victor always done the synth. It was never as heavy, the synth, until recent records, but he was always doing little synth parts because he's very talented musician. He can play all sorts of instruments, Victor.
Yeah.
And he needed a synth player for live, so that was the fifth member that joined recently. So we've got the synth player for live now.
Nice.
So we were a four piece for most of the time, but then we've added the synth in now.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
But that was that. Yeah. So we started then, and from then we've done a couple of EPs and a couple records, full length albums. It's been a journey.
Yeah, for real, man. When this upcoming tour that y'all are going to do, how long are y'all going to go out for?
So it's not been announced yet, but we're planning on going out to Europe mid-September, and we come back mid-October. So we should be 4 weeks.
Wow.
And we hit quite a good chunk of Europe. So I'm hoping it's going to go ahead. We're going away with a band from France called Deluge.
Okay.
Who are also signed with Metal Blade.
Oh, nice.
I think the album, the it's going to be released soon. The tour poster and all this stuff. So I don't think I'm stepping on any toes by saying that.
Well, from reading sort of about the records, it seems as though they're at least the full lengths or the EPs as well, sort of these concept albums. They certainly sonically kind of have this journey-like sonic landscape that they roll through. What are there some of those records that are indeed concept albums, and is the most recent one? Every single one. What's the story behind the newest one?
Oof.
I had a feeling you might have a hard time answering that.
Yeah. So the concepts were always there from the very first stuff we done. It's always been space. It's always been around space, around sci-fi in every way it can be.
Yeah.
So we'll leave the EPs out, even though the EPs are also part of the story as well. There's a large story here that all these records kind of tie into over long timelines.
Right.
The newest record is a kind of it's a play a bit on the story of the Tower of Babylon. There's also a few books that we had all read and been reading when we started building the story behind this. I'd like to say the story is also, I'd like to say this to start with, it's all really open for your interpretation, how you want to see it. There's no we've not wrote all this down on paper and this is the story.
Yeah.
I've got a different feeling and definition of what you might get from what Victor says, and Dan, who writes a lot about the actual lyrics and storylines, he'll have a very detailed answer for you.
Yeah.
But for me, I've got my own feelings on what the album's about, and they all kind of tie in we all tie in with each other, just
right.
Different.
That's awesome.
Views, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
So this record for me, I was reading a book by Alistair Reynolds called Terminal World.
Oh, okay.
And it's about cities that are built in a massive spear that goes way up to the sky, and it starts, if you imagine like a proper spear, where it starts quite thick at the bottom, and then it gets narrower and right up. And every layer of this spear is a class level. So the horse town is the very bottom, and then Steamsville is the next town, and then further up is Neon Heights, and then up and up and up until you get to the celestial levels, which is the very top. And right at the very top, there's angels that fly around the top of this spear.
Nice.
But they're all governed by zone sickness, where they can't just drop down to another zone and drop down to another zone. They have to be climatized to different zones, and they take pills to avoid zone sickness. So basically, the angels can't just come all the way down and start fucking with everyone below.
Right.
And people down below can't just go up where they want. Everyone's kind of set where they're born is where they end up staying, which is another kind of a lot of kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? It's another wee point of the album where we're looking at the classist kind of way the world's set up.
Sure.
And how these angels up here, they do in the book, they start infiltrating below and trying to work out what people are doing below and how they can fuck with them to better their life up above.
Right.
And that's a big part of the album for me. It's not the whole thing, but that's the kind of, I mean, if you look at the cover, the artwork for the album,
Mm-hmm.
you'll see the angel on the front, the beautiful looking kind of angel that when you open the record to the inside, this angel turns into this horrible, decrepit version of the angel, like what they really are, you know?
Right.
And it's kind of, for me, the underlying tone of the album is about this kind of class levels where things go, when you get to the top, they're just sucking the blood out the people below them, you know.
Right.
And that's part of the story within the record. There's a track on the record called SI-14.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Yeah, that's the chemical name for silicone.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about these angels basically modifying their shell and installing chips and crazy bioware to enhance what they are,
Right.
and hide the fact that they're not very beautiful when you get up close. You know, they're actually something a bit darker and a bit meaner.
Yeah.
Did you see on Netflix there was a series called Altered Carbon?
Yes.
So the first season of that, did you watch that?
I did right when it came out, and I'm trying to reflect on what it was that he went down. It was bizarre. It was sci-fi, like futuristic sci-fi crazy thing.
Yeah. So another part of this that TV series we really loved is it's a similar vibe. The rich live up in the clouds. The scum are in the cities all piled on top of each other. And these rich people are living up in the clouds on like islands that they've just taken away up into the sky.
Wow.
And it's kind of similar to the Terminal World. And as I'm saying, we weren't writing any kind of album based on the book or based on the series, but we had this vibe about what we wanted to do.
Yeah. And
that was kind of part of it. Now it goes a lot deeper in the story, but I don't want to go too far into it because it's all your own interpretation.
Right.
But there's a lot to do with. I don't want to get this wrong either, to be totally honest with you. But the story with the Tower of Babylon is a big part of this, where these Victor and Dan started taking a lot of references for our kind of story for the album.
Yeah.
But the overall vibe is that, basically.
Nice, man. So we touched on the new record, I guess, as far as going back to Asher, and assuming I pronounced that correctly. What's the sort of background? What's the story, the theme with that one?
So basically, the new album is a precursor now to Asherin. So, and Asherin was basically all about the health of the world was going down the drain. It was and it's obviously set a lot in the future. And these civilizations on Earth decided the time was done and they were going to leave. So they left, and they tried to find a new place to live, and they left the Earth in a very horrible state. And the Asherans stayed. That's the civilization that stayed, and they were in tune with the Earth, and they were living quite as one with the Earth, rather than feeding too much of the Earth, you know, sucking everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And the Earth turned back into a reclamation happened, and the Earth turned into this crazy. Everything grew back to where it should be, and that kind of happens throughout the album. You can hear it on some of the tracks. In the end, they couldn't find what they wanted to find, and if you look at the front cover of Asherin, the space travelers, they come back. They go, wait a minute, we never sussed it out. the Earth's looking good now. How long has it been? Couple thousand million, whatever years. Well,
Right.
it's looking good now. We're coming back, and that's the end of the album. Sharon's Scion. It's all about the realizing shit. They're coming. Like, it's an endless circle. We've got the world back to where we want it to be, but they're back. They're gonna come back and do the same mistake again, you know. So they come back and a war ensues.
Fuck it up all over again.
Pretty much. You get the gist of how we feel.
Right. Yeah, man, that's crazy. I was gonna ask you. It's a band that I've been digging. I talked to the new drummer recently as well. That episode will be coming out. But I don't know if you ever got into, speaking of sci-fi. I'm an old Voivod fan, and I love that they're kind of crazy sci-fi tied into the artwork stuff that they were doing in like the 80s and into the 90s. But have you listened to much Vector? Vektor?
I've heard their stuff. I've not dove straight in, but I've definitely heard it.
Yeah, man. Check out Outer Isolation. It's 2 records back. Like, the shredding is just fucking preposterous. Like,
Yeah.
it's like it's superhuman surgical the way that they can play this shit, and it's like pretty long songs with like super shred and thrashy speed metal, fucking tremolo pick in sci-fi. And
Nice.
if you read the lyrics, when I was talking to the drummer, I was like, I don't know how he could remember all the riffs. That's one thing. 2, how did he ever remember all of these lyrics? Because they're so extensive and they don't repeat very much. He's just telling these long stories. So it's like,
just stories. Yeah.
woo! It's crazy, man. You got to check it out. They're definitely a band like in that crazy kind of dystopian sci-fi, you know, shit happening, long stories, thematic.
Yeah.
It's wild. Definitely check them out.
Nice. I will do.
Yeah,
I will
man.
do. I kind of got right into the style of this when I was a bit younger. I was listening to a band called The Faceless, and they had an album called Planetary Duality. And something about that album, I loved the vibe. It sounded like somebody trapped out in space. You know, it was fucking so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
And when we started talking about how we wanted to kind of approach writing music and stuff, that was pardon me. That was something that popped in my mind, and we kind of went for we all love sci-fi. We all love the storytelling aspect of it, and it really helps us build a picture of what sound we want to bring.
Yeah, that's interesting.
When we were touring Asherin, we were talking about the story for Etemen Ænka. So not writing riffs, not writing anything, just talking about a story.
Wow.
You know, we're in the van all the time. Let's talk about what shit means something to us.
Yeah.
Oh, what book? Oh, you've read that book? I'm going to read that. Oh, cool. I'm read it. And we all kind of passed around ideas, and we came around with this story where basically we'll get our feeling across. Mostly I come across to the guys with a lot of raw kind of feelings, but they guys are very good at articulating this kind of stuff and making it into something palatable for people to really take on, you know.
Right,
like,
totally.
You put it in, bring it to life, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Hell yeah, man. Well, one more question, man. I noticed from looking at your Instagram, it looks like you do some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's that could be a dangerous art form. I'm a big MMA fan. I obsess over it. I watch it constantly. Yeah, it's like my thing.
Me too, man.
I love watching it any chance I can do. I know all the fighters, and I'm always matchmaking in my own head and doing the whole thing. But it's a dangerous art for somebody and a drummer that needs all their limbs. Have you had any problems with your fingers, limbs, etc., getting cranked?
Fingers. I'm dealing with a bit of finger issue just now. So we've got a video. We're doing a live video on Sunday, and the last time I rolled was just Saturday. Just Saturday before, and I'd done my finger quite a bad one. So I'm having to be very sensible, which is tough,
right?
Because I like training. Like, so when we've got stuff that's starting to pick up, when we've got tours, when we've got things in the pipeline, I have to manage when I'm training. But when I'm not training, when that's not happening, I'm trying to do competitions, roll as much as I can.
Really?
So yeah, fucking, that's the way it is, man. It's just like you said, I love it just as much as anything else. So it's part of my life now. Once you start, you can't really stop.
Right. Damn, man, that's crazy. I know people that have been doing it for a long, long time. Generally, some back or some neck issues will ensue.
Yeah.
So hopefully, you can steer clear of that in the long run of doing this. You know.
Yeah, I'm not hopeful, but fucking, you only live once, man. So I'm gonna ride this body right into the ground, I think.
There you go, my man. Oh, shit, that's good. Well, Dudley, it was great talking to you, man. I'm glad this actually worked. It's still kind of blowing my mind with modern technology via the internet and Wi-Fi and all this other shit that I can give you a call all the way in Scotland. And I've been in Brooklyn, New York for the last 15 years, and we just moved out to Salt Lake City, Utah.
Nice.
So that's yet another time zone difference. That's why when we were talking about time zones, I was like, I don't even know what time it is there, how this is even going to work. But hell, we managed to make it work, man.
Yeah, it's been great, man. I appreciate you making some time.
Absolutely.
Also, fun to be talking to people over stateside, like, because we're looking to get back out over there soon. Definitely.
Awesome. Yeah, if y'all do, I'll have to catch up with y'all somehow, man. I would love to see y'all live for sure.
For sure, man. I'll get you hooked up as soon as we know what the plan is.
Nice. Yeah, and if my wife and I have been talking about making out to Scotland, to Edinburgh, that's where you are, right?
Yeah, I'm in Edinburgh, man. It's a great place to come visit. There's the Highlands are only an hour and 30 minutes away.
Nice.
And it starts kicking some ass when you get out here, like.
Awesome. Yeah, my wife actually has friends out there, and she's gone out to visit them and everything. And we've been saying one of these days we're going to make it. So obviously, if that ever happens, I'll definitely give you a holler.
For sure. We'll get a beer.
Yes, indeed, my man. Right on. Well, Dudley, it was good talking to you. We'll catch up soon. And again, congrats on the new record, man.
Thank you very much, man. It was a pleasure.
Yes, indeed. Thanks to everyone for tuning in, and thanks to Dudley for hanging on a 7-hour time zone difference out in Scotland. Love that new record and hope to see them live somewhere soon, either in the States or, hell, somewhere in Europe if I can make it there. Check out their merch, check out their vinyl, killer designs, all kinds of just awesomeness. We'll catch you on then, flippy fucking floppy. Crash, bang, boom.